Stop manifesting the things you don't want. Why does it seem like everything that I'm trying to materialize, I'm getting the exact opposite of that? I want to materialize more money, I get more problems. I want to materialize healthy relationships, I seem to be either coming across terrible people or just be in toxic relationships. Why does it seem as if the cycle that I'm trying to break out of, I keep going through the same cycles? Why does it seem as if, my progression in my career is stunted? See, oftentimes we enter this kind of paradox where there's things that we're trying to manifest, but we don't have the capability of manifesting them. And this is after you've read all the books. This is after you've done all the meditations, affirmations, visualizations, or whatnot. This is for every single thing that you've done and it's still not working. Why is everything that I'm doing not working? I'm trying, why is it not working? And that's what I'm gonna go through in this video today. So much so that, in fact, me, myself, I'm actually hired by 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs, professional athletes, to actually help them stop manifesting the things that they don't want. Because the truth of the matter is, it's paradoxical that even knowing all of this shit somehow still isn't enough. Even knowing what to do, you still get the opposite of it. And it's actually deeper than the surface. It's actually deeper than most of the books that you've read and videos that you've watched. It's deeper because we're gonna have to go into something that you've never gone through before. So, as you can see, our boy over here, he's manifesting the things he doesn't want. Down bad, down bad, down bad. Stuck in the same cycle, sad face. CV, right? That's for individuals that are struggling to get employed or struggling to get the promotion they want. Heartbreak, bills, 10,000, lack of money. And as you can see, it's raining on him, pause. And
the rain's bending both ways, so it's not due to the wind.
This is African rain. This is African rain. Don't even worry about that. But yeah, let's get into it. This video is actually going to be very, very important because, like I said, most of us have watched all the videos, read all the books, but for some reason, we're still actually not manifesting the things we want. It seems as though we're getting the opposite. And you actually have to get down to understanding why. And this is something that I've actually never seen other people speak about. So chances are, if you're hearing about this, you're welcome in advance. You are very welcome in advance because this is going to save you a lot of time because there's a difference between the things that you want and the difference between the things your subconscious mind wants. I have to set my base definition of manifestation because oftentimes people have the incorrect definition of manifestation. And if your definition is incorrect, then that means you're going to the wrong place. So you shouldn't be surprised why you're going to the wrong place if your definition is incorrect, because your definition is going to be the basis of what you move towards. And if you have an incorrect definition, you're going to have an incorrect destination that you come to when it comes to materialization of your desired reality. So manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. That's the base premise of manifestation on how I talk about it on this channel. It's not about changing your reality. It's not about altering reality. It's not about bending reality or shaping it. It's not about anything external, because the more that you focus on the external, the more you actually begin to neglect the internal. And it's as within, as without, on earth as it is in heaven. So if your attention is fixated on the illusion, then you're going to be led into delusion. That's a bar, write that down. Like I said, manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you're no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. Now, make sure you take notes and leave them in the comments, because like I said, if you've been manifesting the wrong thing despite doing everything, then it comes down to one of these reasons that I'm going to give. And this one is actually so important that when I first begin working with clients, in the first quarter that I do with clients, I do an analysis of this in particular. We need to take into consideration your subconscious definition of desires. I bet you've never heard anybody talk about that one, have you, mate? Of course not. Your subconscious definition of desires. This is something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. And here's what I mean by this. Now, oftentimes we understand that there's a difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Of course, your conscious is your rational, your subconscious is your irrational, your subconscious is the room from which reality is created from and unfolded from. Your subconscious is the only aspect of you that leads to creation in reality. It is quite literally, we can conceptualize subconscious for frequency, we can conceptualize it for self-concept, we can, it's all interchangeable. Imagination, state of consciousness, mental attitude, all of the above. But Like I said, a lot of people don't take into consideration the subconscious definition of their desires because they don't understand how the subconscious works. Now, the one true language of the subconscious mind is emotion. So it's important for you to understand that your subconscious mind has a different definition than you do of the things that you want. Hence why when you're materializing the things that you want or attempting to, you're not getting them because you're thinking your conscious mind and your subconscious mind have the same definitions, but they do not. I'll give you an example. Now, before I give that example, like I said, the subconscious mind definition is based upon emotion. So the emotional experiences that you go through in reality lead to a subconscious definition being formed. I repeat, the emotional experiences that you go through, and that's due to the fact that it's the emotional intensity of these particular experiences, whether positive or negative, but in this context, negative because you're perpetuating a reality you don't want, leads to a subconscious definition. I'll give you an example. So, let me hit the reds. I'll give you an example. So, AJ, if you would be so kind, I would like to borrow you for a second. Pause. I need you to just say the first thing that comes to your mind when I say these things. Cool?
The first thing that comes to my mind, yeah?
Like how you would define these things that I'm about to say.
Okay.
Your definition of these things.
Okay.
Because chances are, being the collective consciousness, we all go through similar experiences. So, how would you define money?
Define money.
Yeah.
Tool.
Perfect. Tool, resource. Now, there's going to be some smart nigga in the comments that's going to be like, money's not real. It's printed. It's fake. Yada, yada, yada. Creature from Jekyll Island. Okay. That's fine. We know money's not real. Now, there's going to be a smart nigga that says, oh, money is energy. It's energy. It's energy. Bear in mind, conscious definition. This is your conscious definition. I'm going to write the conscious definition in red, and I'll write the subconscious in blue. Now, bear in mind, we all know money is a tool, a resource. That's what we think consciously. Understand there's a difference between the conscious and subconscious. Now, how do you think your subconscious mind would define money? Well, that's based upon the emotional experiences that you've gone through with money. The most emotional experiences, or the experiences with the largest degree or strongest degree of emotional intensity, is what your subconscious mind is programmed with. So if you grew up broke, and you see your mother or your father, your parents struggle with money, you see them argue, you see them say they have no money, you see they live a certain way, you see the stresses that they go through. Based upon that particular degree of experience or observation, the emotional intensity of that experience led to your subconscious definition of money being problems. So then when you say, I want to manifest more money, money is equated to problems, what do you end up manifesting, AJ?
Problems.
Bingo.
More problems.
Big light bulb moment.
That's where they're saying more money, more problems.
Well, all truths are half truths. That doesn't have to necessarily be something that you adhere to. But the base premise of what I'm trying to show here is that you need to transcend the conscious, rational logic that you have in thinking that you want to manifest money and money is just a resource. No, that's how your conscious mind perceives it. Your subconscious mind perceives it based upon the emotional experiences that you've been through. And the emotional experiences that you've been through, emotion being the language of the subconscious mind, impress your subconscious mind and associate your emotional experiences with the definition that has been attributed to money. So if you grew up seeing money problems and money was nothing more than representative of stress, if money is representative of nothing more than stress, problems, pain, sadness, then in doing so, when you say, I'm going to sit down and do a visualization to manifest more money, your subconscious mind says, oh, okay, you want more money, you want more stress, you want more pain, you want more sadness, you want more money problems. Then you end up staying in the same perpetual cycle again and again and again. And this is transcendent of money. I mean, let's even look at relationships, for example. How would you define a healthy relationship, AJ? This is murky waters right here.
First thing that came to my mind was just happiness, isn't it?
Cool.
You're just happy to be around each other.
There's going to be some people in the comments that's like, that's not a true relationship. Whatever. Let's just say, let's keep it nice and simple, right? Because I know you have your own definition. I know. Let's just say honesty, trust, transparency. Honesty, trust, transparency, and respect. Let's just say. Now, you niggas you can add whatever flavors you want to this, yeah? You can add whatever flavors you want, but just for simplicity's sake. Now, that's your conscious definition on love. Conscious. Remember the front of your head, that's your conscious, but it's your subconscious that creates your reality. Now, let's say you grew up in an environment where you either saw a particular degree of chaos in the house, or you didn't see any relationships at all. The emotional experiences of that. The emotional experiences based upon that impress your subconscious mind with the association of relationships being representative nothing more than chaos, toxicity, and whatnot. So then when you say, I want to go and materialize a partner or a relationship, you end up materializing the subconscious association based upon the emotional experience. So my question to you is, and this is something important that you actually write down yourself, what do I want? That's the first thing. You need to know crystal clear clarity, because it's not until that you have that particular degree of crystal clear clarity will you emit a specific frequency enough for the universe to correctly interpret what it is that you're trying to materialize and then place you in resonance with that particular reality to then give it to you. It's not until you have that clarity, then you can say to yourself, okay, my conscious definition of this may be this. What is my subconscious definition of this? And that can be answered with one question. You write down that question.
What's your subconscious definition of money?
My subconscious definition of money.
Yeah.
Growing up in the ends, raised by just my mom, simple. Struggle, survival, lows, it not being there, problems. Do you know what was so deep? I didn't even realize this. And I feel like I've said this on a video before, but I only realized this when I, moved out, which a couple years back. And I would never open letters. Like letters would be posted through the door and I'd just leave it in the door. I'd never open it. And I could never understand, why don't you just open the letter? Because it's just a letter. Conscious. Subconscious is saying what? It's a bill. It's a problem. Because then my mind then took me back to experiences of observing my mom opening those letters with a particular degree of sadness or defeat or apathy. In seeing it, my subconscious mind had formed the association of letters being equated to that. Hence why even, I'd never, I wasn't going through that consciously as an adult, but I just never understood. And I was like, that's what it is. So let's form the associations, right? Because like I said, the experiences that we go through are based upon the emotional experiences. Remember, your subconscious definitions is based upon the emotional experiences. The emotional experiences that you've had, it can be either emotional experiences or emotional observations. It doesn't really matter which one. All that matters is that there's an intense degree of emotion that leads to a particular degree of subconscious definition. That subconscious definition is the basis of then what your mind will begin to seek out, especially if that is something that you're seeking. So you have to take into consideration this one question. Simple. What have I emotionally experienced / observed about what I want? And this doesn't even have to be a childhood thing. It's not even about the childhood. The reason why people talk about childhood, of course, is because your brain is in a particular brainwave state, which is conducive to the materialization or entry into your subconscious mind being in theta and alpha majority of the time. But truth of the matter is, it is nothing more than an emotionally intense experience. That's all that matters, an emotionally intense experience to which you experience, either an emotionally intense experience or observation about what it is that you want, because it's not until you can take into consideration the subconscious definition of things that you're going to stay perpetually locked in the same cycles. So here's what actually happens. Either two things happen and they're both bad. They're both bad. And don't worry, I will show you how to solve this. Because what the fuck would I be pointing out your problems and not solving it? You know what I'm saying? It's just a bit sad, innit? Either one or two things are going to happen. You're going to manifest your subconscious definition. So if it's money, for example, but money is something that you've experienced as problems, something that led to stress, something that led to arguments, something that led to chaos, you're going to materialize more problems. Please extrapolate this to whatever it is that you want. You're either going to manifest your subconscious desire or subconscious desire's definition, or you are going to avoid. What do you mean by that, Nero? Why would I avoid what I want, Nero? Wipe your mouth. The reason for that is this. Like I said, your subconscious mind forms definitions based upon emotionally intense experiences. If your experience with money was observing your parents struggle with money, or it led to beef, or it led to them just being upset, and you just have all of these experiences that led to a ripple effect based upon the house that you was in. If money is equated to problems, then naturally no mind likes problems, because problems is registered as pain. So to avoid problems, what is your mind indirectly also going to avoid?
Money.
Bingo. And then it will feel like money is just being thrown away at you. I had a client recently join me, he has a brand, does 6 million a year. And he was like to me, it always seems like the universe is trying to take my money. That's literally what he said. And that took me back to being in the ends and seeing people around me. And it would almost be like the same thing. Like no matter how much money they had come in, it would go. Like why? Why are more problems coming? Why are more bills coming? Why does somebody all of a sudden need bread here and there? Like what is that? And it's because of the association on the subconscious mind of money being equated to problems. To avoid the problems, your mind then begins to get rid of the association of what problems are also interconnected to, which is money. Which is in direct contradiction to everything you're doing consciously. Everything you're doing consciously. This could be to, get a job. This could be to get a promotion in the job for more money. This could be to get more sales in your business, more sales on your website, more customers, more deals closed. If that association of money being equated to problems remains, then your mind is going to seek to avoid problems and indirectly end up avoiding money, which is then going to lead to materialization of you having these experiences where money is just leaving you. And it goes further than this. Let me show you. I see the crystal raindrop. So, like I said, subconscious associations, and I keep repeating this to keep reinforcing the idea of what I'm trying to convey here, because oftentimes you actually don't realize the gravity of what I'm saying. Like I said, there's a difference between your conscious definition and your subconscious definitions of things. Your conscious definition doesn't manifest anything. It literally doesn't manifest shit. Literally nothing. You can know that money is an energy, cool. That means fuck all. You can know that money is a tool or a resource. That literally means nothing. You're not going to materialize it because your conscious definition isn't where reality is unfolded from. It's in fact your subconscious definition that reality is unfolded from. So you need to take your subconscious definition of whatever it is that you're seeking to materialize into existence. So, like I said, if in your head, right, and I'm going to just try cover as many general desires that people may have. So of course we already have money. Money is equated to problems. And remember, either two things happen. Your mind will actually materialize that thing and its association, or it will manifest avoiding that thing. So relationships, let's say relationships have been something that has either through observation or experience, relationships have always been representative of chaos, toxicity, distrust, heartbreak. Your mind is either going to materialize more of that, or it's going to indirectly perceive it as a problem. Don't know what's going on with my throat. Pause.
Hey.
Don't do that. And like I said, because the mind doesn't like problems, because who likes problems, right? The mind will seek to avoid the problem and also what the problem's associated to. So then you'll actually end up seeking to avoid the relationships that you very much desire. Let's say in let's say employment. Let's say you've been trying to get a job for some time and it doesn't work at all, and you just keep getting rejected and it's just not going right. The association based upon the subconscious experience is then going to be the association of apathy, fuck this, there's no point. It's going to be disappointment, it's going to be frustration. Once again, that's another way of saying problem. So then, because your subconscious mind has made the association of employment or the attempt at employment being equated to problem, in an attempt to avoid the problem, it will avoid employment and keep you there. Let's say promotion. Let's say you've been trying to get a promotion in your career, or you're trying to pivot careers to a higher career, and you put yourself forward every time and they say no, you feel unseen, you feel underappreciated, you don't feel cherished. Once again, that's another way, just for, summary's sake, we can say problem. Then to avoid the problem of the mind, it will avoid the promotion. It's important that you remember, because even between your two options of manifest the subconscious definition or avoid it, both of these is exactly why you keep manifesting the things you don't want. And it's not until you have the capability of altering this that you will stay there. But that's not it. Let me show you the other things that are keeping you in the cycle of manifesting the things you don't want. And bear in mind, luckily, all of these things have the same solution. So I'm just going to go through them and then, give you the solution afterwards.
Back to the video.
Back to the video. The second thing, now that you understand subconscious definitions, it's actually important that you think to yourself, what is it that I want to materialize? And what has been my experience with that thing that I want to materialize? Because in doing so, you'll come to the conclusion of your subconscious definition, which will make more sense as to why either you're materializing what you've associated consciously to be the opposite of that, while subconsciously it's exactly that, or you're actually going to end up avoiding what it is that you want because your mind doesn't want to register that pain. And in an attempt to avoid that pain, it ends up avoiding what has been emotionally binded to it through experience. Conceptualize emotion like a particular degree of glue, right? Emotion solidifies your self-concept. It solidifies your state of consciousness. It strengthens your frequency, because whether state of consciousness, mental attitude, self-concept, imagination, all of that is nothing more than immaterialized reality. And reality is materialized self-concept, imagination, state of consciousness, frequency. The second thing is actually something else that I look for when I'm talking to my clients, which is something that I call the pattern. And usually I do this through just a series of questions. And for, obviously, the sake of this video, like I said, I literally give everything to my clients that I give to you guys. The only difference is I tailor the information. Of course, I don't say, certain things because it has to be applicable to your life. But I think that's why people like this channel, because they understand that I don't really hold anything back. And it's funny because my clients will still watch my YouTube videos while we're doing the work that we're doing, because it's literally the same thing. Now, like I said, there's something that I look for called the pattern. And the pattern is the epicenter of the ripples of your reality. And the way that you can conceptualize the pattern is quite literally, like I said, the epicenter of the ripples of your reality. Now, what do I mean by that? So, the experiences that you go through, this situation that you go through with, and of course, this is in the context of your desire and what you want to materialize. There's a pattern in them. There's a pattern in them. I'll give you an example. I'll give you as many examples off the top of my head so you can hopefully find yourself in one, or it will bring you to a conclusion of it. So, let's say in the context of promotion. Let's say somebody wants to get promoted, but they've been struggling to get promoted in their career. The way that I conceptualize the pattern is the culmination of your most emotionally intense experiences defined into one emotion. What do I mean by that? So out of all the experiences that you've been through, there's a single emotion that stays the same. If there's a single emotion that you find continuously throughout your experiences. I'll give you an example. So let's say I have a client and, typically, they, of course, when they're growing up, they go to school, they get their grades. Their parents never ever congratulate them for getting their grades. They never show any attention. They do a really nice drawing. Their parents never congratulate them. They feel unseen, right? They go through school. Once again, they feel unseen. Even in their friendships, they feel unseen. That degree of feeling unseen is the pattern. And the thing about the pattern is that it's the epicenter of the ripples of your reality. What that means is that that single pattern, that single emotion will emit continuously a beacon that lets out that frequency to ripple effect, silently playing in the background of your reality wherever you are. So now, when you attempt to put yourself out there in the dating world, you feel unseen. When you attempt to go get that promotion, you feel unseen. When you attempt to get more clients in your business and do more marketing, you feel unseen. That pattern stays consistent. So it almost stays in the background, almost corrupting the frequency of your desired reality and distorting it. So your desired reality never ends up materializing because this beacon is still emitting the same signal based upon that experience. That's one example. Now, let's say I have, another client who grew up having a hard time, he was bullied by siblings or cousins, or at school, they felt like the world was against them. Right? Whether at home, the world was against them, they went to school, the world was against them. That particular pattern then stems out into their world. Now they attempt to, conquer reality and materialize what they want, but they can't feel as if the world is against them. They step into this field, the world's against them. They step into this field, the world's against them. And that particular degree of emotion then would be, even though it says one emotion, we can just say the world being against you, we can just say conflict. So now the pattern of conflict follows you wherever you go, because here's the thing. You take you with you wherever you go. You cannot escape your energy no more than you can escape yourself. And that's a bar. Please write that down. If you have problems in one place, I can guarantee you can move somewhere else and have those problems. Hence why people always, will say things like the place that I grew up in is bad vibes, or this place is bad vibes. And of course, you see nothing in reality more than what you are. So an attempt, you can move to another place. Those vibes will continuously follow you wherever you go. Give it a matter of time, because you cannot escape your energy no more than you can escape yourself. And the pattern, like I said, is the culmination of your most emotionally intense experiences defined into one emotion. Let's say another one. Let's say, and this one applies to most of us. This is one that I have myself. For most of us that grew up watching our family struggle, you indirectly feel, you have a certain level of awareness being young that, mom, dad, parents, whatever, whoever raised you is struggling financially. You then have that pattern of, how can I make their life easier? How can I make their life easier? Translation, I am a burden. I am a burden. I am a burden. So then you enter every particular relationship. You enter the work field, and you don't want to bother anybody. You don't want to make trouble for anybody. You enter a relationship and you don't want to bother anybody. You don't want to do anything. You then enter business. You don't want to bother your clients. You don't want to do anything. And that pattern follows you with you wherever you go, because the truth of the matter is, like I said, it is the epicenter. And if you think about an earthquake, epicenter is where it originates from. It stems out that frequency continuously again and again and again and again. You can think about it like an aspect of your self-concept, state of consciousness, or mental attitude that is silently distorting what it is that you're trying to solidify as your own state of consciousness or self-concept. And you have to know you well enough. Hence why one of the most prolific proverbs that the ancient Greeks stole from the ancient Kemetics or Egyptians is, know thyself and thou shalt know all. The more that you know yourself, the more that you unravel yourself. And I always say to people, besides, when we're talking about the best books, besides Outsmarting Reality, Amazon bestseller for 24 weeks straight in all 3 categories. Besides Outsmarting Reality, the best book that you can actually read is the previous chapters of your life. That's a bar, write that down. And the reason why I say that is because the more that you're able to know yourself, and if you can think back to your life and think, what is the one emotion that is consistent in almost every aspect of my life? Because nothing's compartmentalized in the mind. If you feel it in one aspect, and this is the funny thing, people come to me, especially entrepreneurs at a high level, and think we're going to be talking about their business. And no, we're going to be talking about what happened 20 years ago, completely unrelated to business. Why? Because the mind has no compartmentalization. People think they can compartmentalize, but they can't. They quite literally can't. And that's the thing. That one pattern is going to follow you everywhere you go, silently playing emitting a beacon out into your reality. And the thing about reality is that it's the realm of effect. So you will find elements of it somewhere in your reality, whether you realize this or not. But like I said, you have to know yourself well enough. And the issue is, you know the manifestation books more than you know yourself. You know the YouTubers better than you know yourself. Because how often do you actually sit down and think to yourself, what are my most emotionally intense experiences? That one question will reveal to you a lot more. Because once again, if I ask somebody, what's your traumas? Most people will be like, I can't really say I had traumas, you know. No, I'm like, okay, cool. What are the most negatively emotionally intense experiences you had? You can give me a laundry list of it. Without realizing that those emotionally intense experiences had a strong emotional charge, which then would lead to entrance into the subconscious mind, which would then lead to that being behind the scenes of their life, playing in the behind the scenes. And the thing about the behind the scenes is that the behind the scenes does lead to an effect on the main stage. Eventually, it has no choice but to, right? So when you think about your pattern, what is your pattern? I know other people, you know, that would feel as if they were the adults growing up, right? So they have this degree of independence that they do everything themselves and no one helps them. No one helps me. No one helps me. No one helps me. So then, of course, you go out into the world, you then get into a relationship and you feel like, oh, this guy or this girl's an incompetent asshole because they don't help me. You then go into the work field and feel like you're the one that's doing everything. Why? Because no one helps me. You then attempt to go into a business with a friend or somebody and they don't help you. They're not putting their weight. No one helps me. No one helps me. No one helps me. That is your pattern. That pattern leads to a beacon that's continuously emitting itself into your reality, silently playing in your background, corrupting and distorting the frequency of your desired reality and placing itself there. We can do this for being unseen. We can do this for feeling like a burden. You can do this for being in a state of conflict. You can do this for a degree of no one helps me. You can do this in a degree of everyone hates me, no one loves me. The same pattern once again. And like I said, don't think to yourself that it's isolated, because it's not. Because that same pattern will then trickle over to other aspects of your life, whether you realize this or not. So it's important you're able to deduce what is in fact the pattern for you. And the only way you can do that is actually by sitting down and giving yourself time to know that. Because the truth of the matter is we don't really give ourselves a lot of time. Not enough time that we need. And bear in mind, the thing about the pattern is that because it's a culmination of experiences that were consistently built upon and built upon and built upon, they're solidified. So the emotional intensity led to a strong emotional charge. That emotional charge is unfortunately stronger than the emotional charge that you're trying to create in the materialization of your desired reality. Let's say that the pattern, the culmination of those experiences toppled upon and stacked upon each other like up here, and your visualizations, affirmations, and everything else you're doing, thinking from the end, feeling from the end, is here. Unfortunately, that emotional charge isn't high enough to displace it. So this one ultimately reigns supreme. And that's what happens. Now, why else would somebody manifest the things that they don't want? Question. If you can pull up. And it all comes down to this. Now, I actually have a whole chapter on this in my book, but I will, go through it now in as much detail as I can possibly remember. Now, attention is more powerful than intention. Attention is more powerful than intention. Say it with me. Attention is more powerful than intention. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make, especially in the realm of manifestation, is that we all have the intentions for more money, more peace, more sales in your business or customers, more opportunities to advance in your career. We all have the intentions of materializing things, healthy relationships.
Multiple relationships.
Yup. Spoken like a true Jamaican man. We have the intention for good, But why are we continuously materializing bad? And it's because a lot of people actually don't take into consideration that your intention means fuck all. And it's funny because I remember, reading, those books, and everybody talk about intention, about setting your intention. And then I'm like, holy fuck, like, come on. This can't be more than enough. It can't be. And I came to the conclusion that your attention is infinitely more powerful than your intention. Because what is attention? We have to first understand attention is a centralization of energy. It's just centralization of energy. And if you think about a centralization, think about a magnifying glass. If you shine light through a magnifying glass, it has enough, power to start a fire, right? A ray of light centralized can become a fire. Ray of fire can be powerful enough. Oh, ray of light, yikes, can be powerful enough to start a fire. And there was a beautiful, absolutely beautiful example from a book by Frederick Dodson called Parallel Universes of Self. And I'll give you the example with a twist on it, with my twist on it. So imagine you go to a different country you've never been to, and you don't speak the native language, but you go to a restaurant and the person, they say whatever they say in their language. You don't understand them by any stretch of the imagination, but you can see they got a menu, they walk you to your table. They say whatever they say to you, I'll be back in a couple minutes. You don't understand, you're just assuming that's what they say. They give you the menu. That person then comes back about 5 minutes later, and luckily the menu has pictures on it. The menu has pictures of the food. You see a steak, you see an acai bowl, you see... I don't know what you guys eat, man. I don't know what you guys eat. You see jollof rice, oxtail, you see, I don't know, Chick-fil-A. Listen, I don't know. Anyways, you see photos of the food next to the menu. The person comes back and they say, they got their notepad. They're like, what would you like? You then open and you point to the fish and you say, I don't want the fish. I really don't want the fish. I'm allergic to fish. Close the menu and say, can I have the steak, please? This person doesn't understand you. All they've paid attention to is the placement of your attention, the centralization of your energy. Even though you had the intentions on ordering the steak or whatever it may be, your attention was focused on what you don't want. And that goes to show, even if you have all the intentions in reality to materialize the things that you do want, if your attention is able to get caught up on what you don't want, that's what's going to happen ultimately. And I'll explain why. You have to understand, in our third dimensional realm, there's a hermetic law known as the law of polarity. Polarity is a fancy way of saying separation. In this third dimensional realm, there's separation. And it's only in this third dimensional realm, which is the realm of illusion. So separation in of itself is an illusion. Hence why you can see quantum physical concepts such as quantum entanglement, which is the idea that when two particles are connected, no matter how far separated they become in the universe, what you do to one is instantly done to another because they're beyond our third dimensional realm, so they don't have to adhere to space-time constraints. You can conceptualize that on a spiritual level as our concept known as non-duality, right? Everything is one. But in our third dimensional realm, we adhere to separation. And because we adhere to separation, we don't take into consideration how we end up creating our reality from that point. Because here's the thing. Every polarity has obviously two poles. So we can say want and don't want. Now, the thing about polarities, and you can extrapolate this to masculine, feminine, hot, cold, negative, positive, light, dark, good, bad. They're the same energy. Masculine, feminine, same energy. Light and dark, same energy. Hot and cold, same energy. Negative, positive, same energy. There's one difference. And the difference is the rate of vibration. And because the difference is the rate of vibration, that's the only thing that separates it. Think about steam and ice. Steam and ice are the exact same energy H2O. The only thing that's different is the rate of vibration, which leads to their particles acting in a particular manner, which one puts one in a solidified state and one in a gaseous state. That is quite literally it. Now, the thing about vibration is that, like I said, if your vibration is skewed towards what you don't want, let's say this is you, because you're manifesting the things you don't want. You're over there. You're like, Nero, I want to get over to the side where I have the things that I want. How do I do that? Because this is alchemy, right? This is alchemy intertwined with hermetic laws, right? How do I get to the side where I have what I want? Well, if want and don't want is the same energy, the only difference is their rate of vibration, what's the only thing you'd have to change, AJ?
I wasn't paying attention in class. I'm so sorry. Rate of vibration.
You know what? Get out.
Rate of vibration.
You're out now.
Ra-
You're out. I'm going to send a letter to your parents, and I'm going to.
Please, sir.
Okay, stop. This is getting weird. But exactly, the only thing that you'd have to change is your rate of vibration. Now, $1 million question is, what's your rate of vibration dependent upon? Because it's your rate of vibration that determines how far you are on the scale or where you are on the polar scale. Vibration is the thing that determines you there. What determines vibration? Remember it because it rhymes. Your vibration is determined by your concentration. Concentration is no different from attention. The issue is most of the time reality has the tendency of getting us to focus on the things that we don't want. And us focusing on the things that we don't want aligns our vibration with the side of having what we don't want, which then places us in a reality. Because the thing about vibration is that vibration is actually the starting point. A vibration that picks up momentum is what we call a frequency. A frequency is nothing more than immaterialized reality, and reality is materialized frequency. So it's actually a concentration that begins the cycle. Through your concentration, that leads to vibration, that leads to frequency, that leads to reality. Part of that is emotion, as I've said before, because emotion is energy emotion, and energy emotion emits a signature that we call the vibration. Vibration picks up momentum, becomes a frequency. Frequency becomes a reality. So between your concentration and emotion, reality is able somehow to get you to concentrate on the lack of money, the lack of peace, the lack of sales in your business, the lack of opportunities, the lack of promotion, the lack of healthy relationships. And the fact that it can get your attention on those things means your energy is centralized towards the pole of what you don't want to experience, which sets into motion the chain of events that leads to a reality that you don't want. Your attention is more powerful than your intention. Because here's the thing, if your attention is centralized to money problems, then of course, you're going to experience more money problems. Simply due to the fact, not only on a physical level of your reticular activation system, hyper-focusing on one particular thing, and then, the cognitive bias of confirmation bias, confirming that problems exist, so your mind begins to isolate everything else. But on a metaphysical level, if attention is the centralization of energy, that centralization of energy, people often say where attention goes, energy flows, but what they don't tell you is that that energy grows and begins to solidify itself into reality. So through that physical level, being finessed into thinking one thing doesn't exist, you then end up centralizing all your attention to one pole. And the thing about polarities is that they're entities, right? It likes receiving your energy. So one thing that it's going to do is going to make you think the other side doesn't exist. If you go to a girl who thinks men are trash, you tell her that men are good, her mind can't conceive of it. If you go to a brother and you say, listen, not all girls are gold digging hoes out here, their mind can't conceive it. If you say to somebody, you actually could get promoted in your career, their mind can't conceive it. You could get more sales in your business, their mind can't conceive it. Why? Because they've been finessed by that particular entity of that polarity to keep centralizing their attention there by hiding the exact energetic opposite, which is exactly what they want into reality. So they centralize all their attention to that one thing, and through centralization or concentration, that leads to vibration, frequency, reality. And then they end up finessing themselves out of a reality that they want because you don't even think it exists for you to look for it in the first place. And most people don't have the capability of being able to see what they want in reality as opposed to what the world wants them to see. Two different things. That's a bar, write that down. You have to have the capability of seeing what you want to see in reality and altering what you're seeing in reality. Because here's the thing, you see in reality not with your eyes. Even on a physical level, the eyes do nothing more than take electrical signals up to a brain through a process of refraction due to the fact that we can see visible light. It then creates a guesstimation of what it thinks it's seen. But on a metaphysical level, we're all wearing shades. Your shades may be green, mine may be black. We're all seeing a tinted world, but you don't realize that you've got shades on, so you think the world is green for no reason without realizing that it's actually based upon this. So you can have all the intentions in the world of having more sales in your business, healthy relationship, more money, less money problems, more peace. But if reality is able to get you to throw your attention, a centralization of energy, in the direction of what you don't want, that is going to align you with the reality that you don't want. And it's going to distort your self-concept, distort your state of consciousness, and skew your mental attitude to the opposite of what you do want, despite having all the attention in the world. You need to align your attention with intention. So if your intention is to make more money, then everything that you experience in your reality has to reflect more money. If your intention is to experience a healthy relationship, then everything that you experience or observe in your reality has to be mentally altered, and you need to decide to see something different that builds up to you seeing a healthy relationship. You guys are probably thinking, why does this guy keep sniffling? Because it's cold. It's cold.
That heat ain't doing nothing.
Like, the heat is not doing nothing. In the UK, it's like -1 degrees Celsius right now. What's that in Fahrenheit? I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's -1 degree Celsius over here, so it's freezing. But there you go. I have the intentions on getting warm, but my attention is focused on being cold, which is perpetuating an experience of coldness.
All right, buddy.
Or someone like Wim Hof can sit in ice cold, glacier water with his attention on his warmth, and is able to align his attention with his intention.
Man, that board looks disgusting. You know when it's just so wet? You can see the juice.
The other reason, and like I said, bear in mind, why did I say that twice? Now I'm going to say it 3 times. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to get rid of all of these things so you can actually begin manifesting what you want. I'm just going through them. Don't worry, we're nearly done. It's all right. Relax. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Fear. Now, oftentimes, most people have a stronger degree of emotional charge in the realms of fear and worry. Your fear and your worry is stronger than your desire. And because of that, remember, the language of the subconscious mind is emotion. So whatever has the strongest emotional charge is ultimately what takes position in the subconscious mind. And the thing about fear and worry is that they get you in ways that you don't even realize. Let's start with worry. Worry in of itself is worship. That's a bar, write that down. Why do I say that? Just think about what worrying is. Worrying, go back to what I just said about attention versus intention. Worrying is attention on what you don't want. That's quite literally the definition of worry. You're centralizing your attention on what it is that you don't want. And a centralization of attention is a form of worship. And worrying is no different from worshiping the reality that you don't want to experience. That's a bar, write that down. And because it's a centralization of energy, remember that centralization of energy or concentration that leads to vibration, that vibration then picks up momentum and becomes a frequency, and then that frequency becomes a reality. That's literally how it goes. Now, the thing about it is that between the feelings of worry, so you can say also feeling anxious maybe, it's a centralization on a reality that you don't want. And because it's a centralization on a reality you don't want, even though you don't want it, you're centralizing your attention towards it. So then it leads to materialization of that reality, regardless of all the visualization, regardless of all the affirmations, regardless of the scripting, regardless of the subliminals and anything else that you're doing. Your attention is infinitely more powerful than your intention. And your centralization of your attention here is skewed on a reality that you don't want to experience. And that's the equivalent of worshiping. Worrying is no different than worshiping the wrong frequency. Worrying is worshiping the wrong frequency. Now, fear. Fear is an interesting one because fear is actually just faith in reverse. Christ said that, faith can move mountains. And if fear is faith in reverse, then that means fear can create mountains. And it does. Because the thing about fear is that fear is such an intense emotion that you end up impressing your subconscious mind that the thing that you're fearing has already happened. Because you're fearing it as if it actually has. Because the mind can't distinguish between imagination and reality if the emotion is intense enough. And the thing about fear is that powerful of an emotion that it quite literally ends up creating mountains in your reality. And between those two emotions, most people, regardless of your visualizations and everything else, these two energies are clearly more dominant than the frequency of what it is that you're trying to materialize, which is end up placing you in a reality of the things that you don't want to experience. Even though you don't want to date a horrible person, you're so terrified and you're worried that you might meet a bad person that might break your heart. that you end up materializing that very person. You might end up, worrying that your business isn't going to perform as well as it did before, and you end up being worried and scared. And between those two energies, you end up perpetuating that exact experience. You might be worried that they're not going to take you serious with the promotion, or they're going to look over you. You might be worried that they're going to give the job to somebody else and not you. Between those two particular energies, you then emit a frequency that aligns you with a particular reality, which is perpetuating you in a reality that you don't want to experience. Does that make sense? Solve this. Now, one other thing that I like to mention is that another reason why people end up manifesting the things that they don't want is because they're not taking into consideration what their desire is indicating to the universe. So a lot of us end up feeling like, if I had more money, I'd feel more security. If I had that promotion, I'd feel more appreciated. If I was with that person, I'd feel more loved. If I had that job, I would feel much more better. And the fact that you don't have those things and your state is dependent upon the attainment of those things is an indication that you're separated from those things. Because if having more money would make you feel more secure, then your lack of security right now is an indirect implication of the exact opposite of more money, which is less money. If being in a healthy relationship would make you feel more loved and you're not currently, then the lack of that is indicating and perpetuating and distancing you from the attainment of that, right? Which goes back to what I always say. You can only have what you already have. The annoying law of the universe. You can only have what you already have. So it's important that you don't put the desire before the state. Make sure you put that in your notes. Don't put the desire before my state. Because like I said, most people end up making the mistake of saying, when I get desire, I will feel a certain way. Which is indirectly saying the lack of it is making you feel the opposite, which is aligning you with lacking what you want in the first place, which lacking internally can only lead to the experience of lacking it externally. Do not put the desire before the state. Do not put desire before state. Frequency first. Frequency first. Say it with me. Frequency first. That's the most important thing. You're not doing it to get anything other than a different feeling. That is literally it. Now, with that being said, how do I solve all of that, Nero? Cool. Do I have black?
I hope you have black.
Yeah.
Okay. How many pens are you trafficking?
You're really not helping the allegations here. So, how do we solve that? All of these have one problem. All of these, whether it's attention being not aligned with your intention, whether it's your subconscious definition, whether it's the pattern, they've all got the same problem at hand. It's all the same problem. All the same problem. This is often the one problem. A lack of a strong enough emotional charge behind your desired reality. That is the problem. Because if you're able to cultivate a strong enough emotional charge behind your desired reality, you will alter your subconscious definition. You will alchemize the pattern. Your attention won't get tricked. And you will put your state before desire. And it's simple. All you need to do one, get into a meditative, relaxed state. You can either get into a meditative, relaxed state by sitting down or laying down. It might take you 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. Then in doing so, visualize a scene to which somebody that you love is acknowledging your desire having already unfolded. Simple. And keep it short and loop it again and again and again and again. Because here's the thing, most of the time when people visualize more money, clients always say to me, by the way, if you're an entrepreneur who feels as if there's a mental block that's stopping them from being able to materialize the revenue that they should have had a long time ago, then link in the description. But a lot of people end up feeling a very funny way. They end up feeling as if it's just about the money. They end up thinking it's just the person. It's just the money, it's just the person. It's never that. If you think visualizing money is going to get you money, then you still don't understand. If you think visualizing being in a relationship is going to get, you still don't understand. It's not about the thing. The thing means fuck all. Reality is an illusion. It's not about the materialization of anything in reality. It's about what reality shouldn't be able to give you, which is the state that you desire. That's the most important thing. That's the only thing that is actually stimulating your desire for it in the first place. Your lack of security is stimulating your desire for more money. Your lack of love and self-appreciation is what's stimulating your desire for love. Your lack of recognition and feeling proud of yourself is stimulating the desire for the promotion. And because it's the source of lack, if you can fill that void, you will end up being in resonance with the very things that you want in the first place. So when clients come to me and they're like, I've been visualizing more money, it's not working. It's not about what the money, it's not about the money. What does the money represent? Represents this, represents this. Okay then, so if you're just seeing yourself in a bank, if you're just seeing a bank screen, what does that mean to you? It means nothing to you. But when you see someone that you love acknowledging or congratulating you materializing what it is that you want, the love from that person and the deeper meaning that it has is ultimately what you're able to draw from. Even in dark matter, me and Adrian were talking about this. I think we spoke about this on another video.
Probably.
Even in dark matter, right? Spoiler alert, by the way. So just skip like a minute or something like that. Even when he was trying to get back to his wife, he kept visualizing his wife, how she looked. It didn't work. It only worked when he connected to the essence of who she is on a deeper level. And that's the same thing with your desired reality. So when that person is able to acknowledge what you've materialized or congratulate you, keep it short and loop again and again. Because between the love of that person and your desire being confirmed, it will stimulate a strong enough emotional charge that will then dissipate the emotional charge that's been set to then ultimately tell your subconscious mind that you already have it. Now, with the pattern, I'll tell you what I tell my clients to do, because like I said, I don't hold anything back. With the pattern, if you've been able to deduce what your pattern was, think back to a core memory to which you felt it the most and recreate that memory so the opposite happened. What you wish would have happened instead. And if you visualize that in a meditative state and you loop that again and again and again. So for example, I had a client whose mom once told him that everything is his fault as a child. And when he said that, he was able to recall it like that. And we all have these core memories that we have that stay with us. I told him to then get into a meditative state and relax and then recreate that scene in his head where his mom's saying, I love you so much. And what that ended up doing was altering the pattern. So he no longer felt like a burden to his own clients, which was something that was keeping him from progressing forward. Now, with that being said, that is how you manifest what you do want.